Hello all. We had technical difficulties again, so I apologize for that. I did hear from a couple people that they liked having the conclusion to that other one that we had another issue with. So I think I'll just polish off the end of that last lecture. We only had 2 slides left, so you didn't miss a whole lot. But the ending of the lecture was sort of tying together all of what I had been talking about before. So I left off talking about the sort of Tolkien's treatment of Denethor at the end. That Denethor, in forging this world of pure logic, or trying to forge a world of pure logic and reason and living without any sort of morality or moral system, that he is severing his connection to the divine. He is severing himself off from God, and therefore has lost his ability to receive grace in some way. Theoden and Denethor, or Theoden and Éomer, or Éomer specifically, is able to receive that kind of divine intervention because of his faith and his defiance of the Corsair ships. Whereas Denethor, in choosing forcibly to end his own life, severs the possibility of his eucatastrophe. And so all of this comes to a head. This is where Tolkien really unifies the heroic and the pity and mercy. Obviously, as I said last week, the pity and mercy and love of Frodo and Bilbo is fundamentally what is at the core of the success of the quest. It is through their actions of mercy and of love that the ring is destroyed. However, it is still the case that the heroic is important. And so his bringing of the heroic into a Christian world, into a Christian frame, is critical to the success of the quest as well. And so this all comes to a head after the battle of the Pelennor Fields at Minas Tirith, wherein Gandalf steps up and says, look, we have no access to Frodo here. He's off on his quest with Sam, and they're trying to destroy the One Ring, and we have no way of helping them directly. However, we must do what we can. And so he says, we must make ourselves the bait, though Sauron's jaws should close on us. We must walk open-eyed into that trap, with courage, but small hope for ourselves. For, my lords, it may well prove that we ourselves shall perish utterly in a black battle far from the living lands, so that even if Barad-dûr be thrown and better... Sorry about that, we lost the internet for a second. I hope I'm back now. He says, so that even if Barad-dûr be thrown down, we shall not live to see a new age. But this I deem is our duty, and better so than to perish none the less, as surely we shall if we sit here, and know as we die that no new age shall be. And so this acts as a direct response, an explicit rebuttal of Denethor's point of view. Because Denethor says the exact same thing in premise. He says, we are going to die regardless if Sauron wins, and Sauron's victory is certain, almost certain, and so therefore I'm going to kill myself and my son because we can choose the hour of our death. And Gandalf says, yes, we are surely going to die if Sauron wins. However, that means, in fact, we should still do the right thing. We should do the virtuous action anyway, in contrast to Denethor's point of view. And so, as I said, Denethor had cut himself off from the possibility of grace. And so what Gandalf is doing is living into grace, living into the virtuous, performing virtuous action for its own sake. And then so, of course, the virtuous path is the foolhardy path, the path of certain doom. If they march to the Black Gate, they cannot win the fight. They are not expecting in any way to have any measure of physical success against the host of Sauron. But in doing this action, they are performing a virtuous action that allows the ring to get one step closer to Mount Doom and its destruction. And so, of course, when the One Ring is destroyed, it is the product of all of these virtuous actions together. It is of course primarily, and as I said last week, very focused by Tolkien on the pity and mercy and love that Bilbo and Frodo and Sam show to Gollum, and that their sparing of his life is what ultimately allows the ring's destruction. But it is really the culmination of all virtuous action for Tolkien. So the heroic spirit is brought in and melded with the Christian message, in that there's nothing intrinsically Christian about the heroic spirit itself, but when it's applied the right way, God will step in and integrate it into the divine plan. And so the reward of virtue is grace. Not an expected grace, not grace that God is guaranteed to give, but you can only do your best, which means living virtuously. And so this is the fullest marriage of the northern spirit and of Christianity. It is both the pity and mercy and love that is core to Christianity, as well as the laughing in the face of death that A.M.R. does, the sort of living righteously in the face of despair. All of this stuff combines together to create the great eucatastrophe. And so this is emblematic of God's providence. God rewards, he accepts virtuous action on its own merits. And so when we have characters performing actions that fly in the face of logic and prudence and pragmatism, those actions are good in themselves, and therefore they are of that sort of higher world, of the world of the divine. And actions performed by Denethor and his ilk are actions that have no virtue to them, and therefore they are not going to elicit a virtuous response. And so it is in the union of the great heroes on the field of battle and the small heroes sparing the life of this vile, pathetic creature named Gollum. It is in the union of these two things, these two great virtuous actions, that the grace of God rewards, fulfills, and completes the mercy, heroism, and love of the coast of the West. And so that is the conclusion of this lecture. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back next week for what hopefully will be a satisfying conclusion to this 7-week series.